Thank you. Now we would like to start the next speech. The speaker here is Mr. Hiroshi Shibata. He is an OSS programmer and a Ruby committer, and he has been involved with Ruby, Ruby Gems, and Bundler, Rake, and also Ruby Build. In those frameworks, and he has been making large contribution to the maintenance of OSS and various many OSS, and also he is supporting the framework of the Ruby development. At the moment, and he is a fellow of ANDPAD. In this organization, he is making a full-time commitment to the engineering PR and also Ruby development. He is discussing the ecosystem supporting the development of Ruby. Mr. Shibata, please. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to start my discussion. Thank you. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Hiroshi Shibata, and Twitter and GitHub account HSBT is my account. As shown and introduced, and I am a member of the Ruby core team, and I am engaged and also leading the Ruby development. On the 1st of October, the assignment is changed. I am the fellow of an ANDPAD. In that title, and I am working for the PR, so that attractiveness of Ruby is actually disseminated, and also OSS and Ruby development is my full-time commitment as well. When I joined this organization, PR people showed welcome, and they made this sticker quite actually shiny surface, and so it is actually distributed among the people in the booth and also in this conference. So it could work as a sort of charm for you when you carry it around. I would like to start the ANDPAD introduction. I could spend 1 hour, even 2 hours, so I would like to limit myself to this slide only. For the construction, the DX is actually the commitment we are making. Programmers and engineers are quite familiar with GitHub. Before the GitHub development, what was the development like? And code and fragments were actually attached to mail, and therefore the mail and also code fragments were shown, were looked at by the people and the receiver, and if it is good, then they were merged. Therefore, distribution was through email or maybe FTD server. Matsumoto-san and the Ruby developer are actually working in such a way. In the construction industry, however, so that is still in progress, not in the past. It's not the past tense. So in the software commitment and community, we would like to have, we would like to become like a GitHub. So we are making effort and for all the carpenters and the builders and the various stakeholders and are actually our target. They don't have to spend so much time for cumbersome work, and what has been actually created can be used and for the betterment of society. So we are actually committed to that goal. Ecosystem of the Ruby. I would like to actually discuss my understanding and also my key message to you. Ruby World Conference is now being conference. It is not a Ruby conference, but a Ruby World Conference. Actually, it is often mentioned. So the ecosystem should be actually known. So we are actually convening that so that people can be familiarized with the ecosystem. I am a developer, so I would like to discuss my image, my vision of ecosystem of Ruby. Inside my mind, this is an ecosystem of Ruby. On the right-hand side, you can see the company and the unicorn company at the bottom, and also the publishing companies, and also programmers and those people who are learning about Ruby. If Ruby is actually used, then maybe your career will be promoted, and also you will get more compensation. So if a company does it, then maybe they can make money. And if you become the Ruby, so you can get an engineer, and you will be actually recruited by people, and the company can recruit more engineers. And in the company and also the university, if you do the Ruby, many students will be attracted. And so this is a very, very positive circulation and a circle. So this is the image of the successful ecosystem of Ruby. When we talk about an ecosystem, what it is about? That is a question. I love this particular wording. So in the Reese magazine, which is actually posted on the web, you can find this wording. So the Takahashi-san in the Japan Ruby Association wrote it. Who is community? So that is the first part of that sentence. My understanding is as follows. So community can be replaced with ecosystem. Then the meaning can be understood. Who is ecosystem? It is about you. You are ecosystem, and there is no other ecosystem other than you. The cluster of people like you would be called ecosystem. Maybe gathering can't be called ecosystem. But an ecosystem means that it is not something outside you, so you are to be integral part of ecosystem. If you feel in such a way while listening to my talk, I would be more than happy. Ruby and also companies. So I would like to talk about that dimension. So this is actually this part of the illustration. Unicorn is at the bottom, and you can see the companies. OSS and also Ruby. Open source and software, Ruby is actually OSS, isn't it? And by using that, the business can be launched, and somehow the operation makes money. So it is taken for granted, but if you think about it, it is rather mysterious, isn't it? Because you have never seen some of the engineers, you don't know who what they look like. They are using that OSS, and our own software is run and also used, and the services are provided. So it means that our software is actually providing value for our customers. Then the money can be actually paid. Not only Ruby, but also Ruby Rails are used. And by using that kind of software, so when you have got something to do, maybe things might not be actually so smooth. And if you say it doesn't work, so they will actually fix it. When it is actually disclosed as OSS, maybe somebody will actually debug the bug, and somebody might contribute some additional function. Sometimes, I say sometimes, not always, but it could happen. So the profit-making companies can use open source software. So even if they don't actually use their own resources, and given the support from goodwill from other people in society, you can actually run your business. That is economically viable too. Ruby is actually supported in that context, and Ruby is actually one of that. If your company are you involved in the Ruby ecosystem? How can you do that? By using Ruby, the functions can be added. If somebody is requested to do so, maybe you don't know how to do that. If you are asked to develop an open source solution software, you don't know how. So there are many companies and representatives and also people working in company here. So in order to get involved with an OSS, and I think that is the first step. So these are the first steps. First of all, please use Ruby. So when you launch your business, please use Ruby and also Ruby Rails. Other than businesses, and they can be used in day-to-day actually activities, and RPD is available. But by using Ruby, you can have an automation, the enhanced automation in your daily life. So first of all, please start to use. And so Rubyist is to be employed. So those engineers are called Rubyist. And so if you employ somebody, please employ and recruit you Rubyist. Not only Ruby, but also those who are getting involved with an open software, OSS, are to be recruited. And so another one is actually easy one. Please get involved with the Ruby events. So, for example, you can become a sponsor of those programs. And more recently, the COVID-19 circumstances have been alleviated. So in-person and the physical convention and also the conferences might be actually convened. So you offer some community space and a meeting and rooms if you have for those programs. That is a big benefit. And you support an event and programs. In September, there was a Ruby Kaigi, and today we are in the RubyWorld conference. So you can send and dispatch your employees to those programs. That is also a very important contribution. There are various Ruby associated awards, so maybe you can actually participate in those programs, and maybe you might be awarded. So you need to have some contact point with Ruby. In the next stage, you can take further steps forward. When you want to use Ruby, maybe you find that something different, maybe not totally actually satisfactory. In that case, you can voice out your opinions, and also in the conferences and also meetings and those programs, and you can actually get involved. You can become a sponsor, or you can offer some meeting rooms as the space you have to those programs. Let me talk about human resources and the people in the community. The community is a word, but it can be replaced with ecosystem. So everybody has been actually nurtured by the community, and we are actually nurturing others in this community. Even if you are aware of that, what you are doing that. If you wait for that and something like a serendipity comes down from the sky, it's not like that when I talk about Ruby. Matsumoto-san and the other members are here today. So actually those people who are in front of you have been continuing their trials and errors and spending a lot of time to create this resource, Ruby. And you can see the picture of Ruby conference, and they have been engaged in heated debate, and if there is back very active commitments and efforts are made for resolving the bug. So those people are actually making efforts and also taking actions for the betterment of Ruby. In the outcome, Ruby was developed. Where is it being developed? And you can see those internet sites. Particularly what is amazing about Ruby is that the Japanese language is actually spoken. So Matsumoto-san is there, so maybe through Twitter and whatever, you can speak to him about the failure, some bug. And Matsumoto-san says that, yes, I will sort it out. And of course, that is sorted out. Also, it might not be by Matsumoto-san himself, but only in Ruby you can have that conversation and communication in the Japanese language. So that is quite great. And personal engineers and also individual engineers can do something. At any rate, you can initiate it, you can disseminate what you do. And maybe some people say that I am actually beginners. Can I do that? Can I initiate that? Don't worry. So you have created something, and if there is something you have created, please let them know and disseminate that. And the publication and so writing of books and also the video clip are very important. In Ruby, and by using Ruby, those can be created. Ruby Kaigi YouTube was actually the one I found, and that was quite amazing. I was impressed. And so when time goes by, and while evolution is actually proceeding in society, please do something, and you can disseminate what you are doing to people. What is missing in Ruby is actually not the speed and also the type, but actually the beginners. And so this is actually the cycle of the ecosystem expansion for Ruby. I think what is vital is to increase the population of beginners. Urabe-san is actually one of the developers, and it was written by him. I would like to show it in the slides and publish it. What is missing in Ruby and beginners? That was the answer. So actually, static programming language has lost many beginners, and they decline. No publication of books, and they are not seen in internet, and somehow they diminish. They actually disappear in the end. Therefore, you have to cherish the presence of beginners. That is a very important element for the sustainability of Ruby. So if the ecosystem is fixed and stagnated, then it will diminish. And everybody is starting as beginners. And so maybe article said that it is something which is very amateuristic. but amateurs and lay people and also experts are all in the internet. So if you write something that can be addressed to the experts or maybe beginners, and they learn about it, what you have written, then that will revitalize the ecosystem very strongly. That is important. The newcomers and the beginners and also the companies should be grown by inside the ecosystem. And if they find they are doing something good, please give them commendations. Ruby Kai and also Ruby conferences are held. Please send people to those programs. But after this presentation, so maybe you can talk to people when you meet the people. And somehow the feeling is then activated and also generated that Ruby is something really good. And if you find Matsumoto-san strolling around, why don't you actually ask somebody to take photos? And so those voices are very important. That is actually a very important element for the growth and so enhancement of the community. And so in the blog, and you can write many articles, and so initiation, dissemination of your opinions is very important. For the Ruby ecosystem, what is my idea? So everybody can do something. I have talked about what can be done by people. With regard to the ecosystem, it's not something which can be done by somebody somewhere. You are already the member of the ecosystem. Therefore, whatever can be done by you should be actually activated and also materialized. And you can say that today's conference was great. And by giving that sort of information and the communication, ecosystem will be further advanced and also become great. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Shibata. Due to the time limitation, I'm afraid that we cannot entertain questions today now. But if you have any question, please meet him in the corridor and wherever, and have a conversation. As mentioned already, so it will be a great trigger point for starting the conversation with Mr. Shibata. So you can ask him for that shiny actually charm. I'm sure that will give you great support. So the next one is actually the speeches by the awardee companies. Before doing that, we would like to have about half an hour recess and break. At 3 o'clock, and we would like to start that the speeches by the awardees. And actually, in the large exhibition hall, there is a coffee service. And if you leave this place, you can find the green tea. And also Japanese sweet provided. So that Japanese is actually original Ruby Japanese sweet. Please take this opportunity and try it. So around the entrances, there are many materials provided by the sponsor companies. In the large exhibition hall, there are booths booths opened by the sponsor companies. About 2:45, there is a report provided. So on the YouTube live dissemination and distribution, you can see that. Please support us for the wearing of the mask and also the washing your hands. If you need the translation receivers, please let us know. They are available at the receptionist's desk. And if there is any technical problem in the receiver, please let us know too. When you leave this hall, please carry around the receivers and also return that at the receptionist's desk. If you need the car park space, there is a free ticket service. Please come to the exhibition hall so that you can get a car park ticket. And there is actually recharging space for other devices too.